If we want to find real peace in our life, reconciliation with those who have hurt us is a prerequisite, especially our loved ones who have betrayed us, who have hurt us deeply. And these are the people that we find most difficult to forgive, because the more we love them, the greater the hurt they can inflict on us. At the same time, if we do not forgive them, then we will never find peace. We can pretend that we are at peace, but deep in our hearts, we still need a closure. But how can we find a closure when these people have hurt us deeply? Of course, we can make an act of the will and say, I forgive. That is true. But still, when we do that, deep in our hearts, there is this need to experience the justice of God. How can we forgive someone who has failed to realize how much he has hurt us? So to forgive someone requires that the person should know the extent of the injury and the harm that we have suffered. In other words, we need the person who have hurt us to feel with us in our pain. That's the first step. That is why when we do something wrong, the first thing we should do is to sincerely apologize for the healing process to begin. If we don't apologize, then the person still feels aggrieved. But that is not good enough. It must be followed by a change of attitude, a conversion. That means to say that the person who has realized the harm that has been done to us will not repeat the same harm, not just to us, but even to others. So repentance, remorse, is a very important indicator whether we can truly forgive a person. Today, the first reading is very moving. I invite you to reflect today's first reading again. It's very, very beautiful on this question of reconciliation. Joseph was unjustly treated. He was betrayed by his own brothers. They sold him to the Egyptians. They almost wanted to kill him. Joseph, having been satisfied that the brothers truly repented and were remorseful, he forgave them. But my dear brothers and sisters, that is not the end of the story. The ability to forgive someone lies not just the fact that the person has repented, has understood the hurt that he has caused to us. There is one more thing that is needed for full letting go of the pain. What is that? The last line of today's first reading. Do not grieve, do not reproach yourself for having sold me here, since God sent me before you to preserve your lives. Joseph understood the whole saga as divine providence, that he was sold to the Egyptians for a reason. The reason was to preserve their lives. He was a very important instrument in the plan of God. When you look at your past from hindsight, there is the grace of God. That's why Romans 8:28 tells us, for those who love God, everything will work out for their good. So let us not always despair. Don't be despair when things go wrong. Mistakes are made. It is part of grace. Grace always works in disgrace. Only at the end of the whole journey can we see the plan of God in it. But we need to cooperate. We need to forgive ourselves. We need to let go. And so we keep nothing for ourselves. If we let go, if we depend on Him, God will give us that grace. And we will always have peace. Even the mistakes that we have made and the mistakes that others have made, because it is part of this journey to fullness of life.